Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Extra. So today we'll be talking about the art of mixing, song selections and playlist creation. With the lightning fast finger of ears for the perfect beat, Dick's jockeys bring the party to life. Spinning tracks that makes you want to get up and dance, right? So from spinning classics to dropping the latest hits, the Dick's jockeys are the ultimate music maestros, waving a sonic tapestry that will keep you enthralled and entertained all through the night. Talking about people that when you go to parties and then you hear them do, you know that. What's that? I just had to do it there. And sometimes the person behind, the keyboard tends to make the party more good or down. So today we have an expert who will be talking to us about this. Afolabi Oluwatosin Okpeoluwa. He is an OAP and a Dick's jockey. Good morning. Good to have you.
Hi. Good morning. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I could see this expression on his face. Like, she pronounced the name accurately.
No, actually, it's the fact that you got the government's name right. It's like, wait,
the government's name.
Yes.
Which one is the government's name?
The government name is what she just mentioned. I'm like, how do you guys get this name?
It's your name, Oga, before you started wearing the Holoskey.
Yes, but the Holoskey is making
So
money.
which one is it? Is it the Holoskey or the Daddy Good Music? Which one?
Actually, we're gradually moving towards Daddy Good Music.
I can see.
The evolution theory, how it works now. So, before we had DJ Holoskey, then we moved to the turntable Jagaban, and now we're currently at Daddy Good Music.
I don't need to ask you what inspires you. You've been here before, we've already known what inspires you, but I would like to ask, how do you get to select your music?
So in this part of Africa, we actually select based on the occasion. So if it's a burial event, you select based on it's a burial. Although I don't like burial events.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants to play that. No, but there are some kind of burial events that you go for. 80, 90.
Yeah, that you are celebrating life, not like sorrowful
exactly.
and all that.
So that kind of event, you just know it's a party. But of course, there's still some kind of songs that you play. If it's a wedding, there's some kind of songs that you play. So the first thing usually is you want to know what's the nature of the events, and then when you know the nature of the events, then you know what kind of playlist to walk around. So if you're looking at a wedding, you're looking at more of love songs, songs that talk about marriage, songs that talk about love. If you're looking at I've used this burial example too much. If you're talking about a birthday, you're looking at birthday songs, the likes of their Stevie Wonder, Happy Birthday and stuff like that. So it depends on the occasion. That's how you create the playlist. And as funny or as easy as the word sounds, creating playlist, a whole lot goes behind the scene. You take out time to understand the clients. For example, if it's a birthday, there are some kind of songs you can play for a 20-year-old birthday that you can't play for a 50-year-old birthday. So first of all, you need to know who this client is, what's the person's song preference. Even if the person tells you it's 50 or 60, there's some old school that work for a 50-year-old that would not work for a 60-year-old. And still in the same light, there's some old school that work for a 50-year-old that would not work for another 50-year-old. So
does that mean you have different playlists for different
You have
age
different
groups?
playlists, you have different folders, down to even a 1-year-old. You have the Baby Shark and the likes goes on like that. So everybody there's a playlist for everyone. There's a playlist for every kind of event.
I think this guy will be sleeping and be hearing music and sounds in his head.
I want to even dive on that particular one, creating the perfect mix. There was a time I went to a wedding and during the main event, it was just normal music being played for every age group, But then afterwards, for us, the millennial, the younger ones, they started going back to the P Square days, and it was like a new party.
Those were the songs.
So now what is the secret of creating that perfect mix to keep, the listeners and the party people glued to, the center stage?
So for me, I don't know about other DJs, but it works for me based on, we do something, we call it body language reading. Like you read the room. So while you play, during the course of my sets, at the tail beginning of most of my events, I do what we call selective guessing.
Okay.
So you're at a wedding event, you have a mixed crowd. 50, 60, 30, 40, but you're trying to look at who is really going to be my audience. Everyone can be your audience at an event, but There's some people that really allow the party peak. You know those people that the moment they get up, no matter how proud they are, you're like, if this guy is dancing or if this lady is dancing, what am
good.
I asking it? So at that point in time, at the early part of the event, you want to try out different songs. You know, throw one P Square in, look at how many people are nodding on their seats. Throw one Davido in, check out how many people they are nodding in, nodding their heads to the song and stuff like that, and then throw some old school here and there. I mean, I've had events where it was the older generation that made the party happen. The moment they just picked up the party, you know, everyone, they had no choice. They had to join. I mean, your elders are dancing, they are sitting. Who are you? You get? And we've had some other situations
I don't understand,
where...
Are you telling me that in Nigeria, even on dance floor, we have to use the respect your elders and stand up?
I mean, you know, him talking about playing songs to know what's the people may like, train. That's a smart one. So, but then it caught my attention, or should I say, it just drew me back to, you know, some comedians saying when they try to do some comedies and they notice people are not laughing, so they like.
No, that's a no-go area.
Have you ever, you know, come across a crowd that was a bit challenging for you to handle? How were you able to maneuver that?
I've come across plenty crowds that, I mean, was tough to get through. Just to mention one, I mean, shout out to all the Northerners out there, but I think the first Northern wedding I ever did, I think it's Kamu, they call it, right? It's
yeah, Kamu.
Yeah, so I was at the event, you know, and I came there with my normal mentality of, you know, just come, play the video, play this guy, play that guy, and I just noticed people just sat down, they were not moving. I tried, you know, when you try everything you know in the book, and then one lady was staring at me, and then she walked up to me, she's like, young man, do you understand the people that you're seeing here? With the northern tongue, I was like, Toma, help me. Let me collect my balance, please. This balance is important to me. So, you know, she started suggesting some songs. That's where the likes of the Ali Jita, Adugu Anja, Umar Sharif. I mean, that was like the first time.
You seem really familiar.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
He goes to Kaduna.
I play a lot of northern weddings. But, I mean, it was thanks to this woman that I finally understood this demography. Okay. So it's not like they don't vibe to the regular Afrobeat songs, but you know, there's something about giving people something that makes them feel at home. You know, so
something of their own.
Yeah, exactly. So when you throw most of all those guys in, you know, and the party is good, much later you can try the Niger. So for me, it was a very tough crowd. But the second, you know, she sent me like a couple of names. She's like, okay, download this one, download. I didn't even know what they were saying for the record, but I just kept on asking. I said, please, hope they are not insulting anyone in this song. It's like, no, they are wedding songs that I can't you see. And I just took the first one. Everyone got up, and I was like, man, that was a tough crowd.
Interesting.
You know, you're going back home and you're like, wow, I survived.
You finally.
I'm a survivor. That was the feeling.
I mean, what do you think makes a great DJ?
So, a great DJ is actually built of experiences. It's one thing to actually be skilled in the crafts. You know how to scratch, you know how to move the fader up and down, how to beat match songs. But like, what makes a great DJ is experiences. Like, you don't get the experience overnight. You'd have come across different people, different crowd, different settings, different kind of events. You know, it might sound like a statement of pride, but I think I've gotten to a point in time where if you woke me up 3 a.m. in the night and you're like, so and so kind of events, start playing music, and the laptop is right in front of me, the console is there. Even without so many songs there, I mean, I could download, thanks to the internet right now, so I could download and start playing those songs. So for me, a great DJ is built off of experiences. You can't compare the experience a DJ that's been playing for 20 to 30 years will have to the kind of experience that a DJ that's just been playing for a year will have. Nah, it won't fly. So that's why you see these days there's what we call like a mentorship process. So the big DJ who's done like 15 to 10 years is there, and then he has 1 or 2 more upcoming DJs. They follow him to events. They follow a guy. They carry speaker, connect wire. These guys are building the experience, you know, here and there. And then they are watching you play these songs. Like, I mean, thanks to God, I have a very smart team of DJs. So I told them something. I said, always ask questions. The questions that you think are actually wrong probably might be the right questions. So always ask questions. So they always ask, boss, why did you play this song instead of this song? Why did you play this song in this order? Why is it that when the guests first came in, you weren't first playing loud music? You know, it was first calm. People could hear themselves. They could talk. It takes someone who has experience
Thank you. You say always ask questions, right? Let me ask questions following up to that. Talking about how this, and I've always been curious about the tempo. What role does tempo and mood play in song selections, and sequencing?
So tempo, so there are different tempos, or as some of us call it, BPM. I was hoping you were going to ask what BPM is.
I'm not familiar with
Malaysia.
Okay, so BPM is the same thing that a tempo does. BPM is short for beats per minute.
Okay.
So for DJs, we actually calculate.
It's BPM you are saying?
Yeah.
I thought you said BPM.
No, BPM. I think you're actually thinking of BBN, right?
No, I'm not.
Just confess. Would you like to be in the house? All right. So what that has to do is, if you're listening to a slow song, say you're playing from a tempo of 70 beats per minute to like maybe 100 beats per minute, you're playing it for a chilled environment. But the funny thing is, you can still play from that 70 beats per minute to 100 beats per minute, and people are still partying. So as much as those tempos play a role in how fast you move, how slow you move, and your reaction to the step, there's also the song selection within that tempo. So it's two things that's happening here. So you have the tempo, where you're trying to use it to dictate how fast these people move or how slow they go. And then you also have the selection of songs. So I can be playing 100 beats per minute. An example of a 100 beats per minute song is, let's say, Assurance, the video. I believe that's really popular. So like a 100 beats per minute song, I can be playing that song at a wedding and people are just nodding their head. But still in the same light, I can play party after party, and that is still 100 beats per minute, and people are vibing to it, they're dancing to it. So there are two things you're looking at here. You're looking at the song you're playing at that tempo and the kind of mood you're trying to put out there. So I might want to just keep you guys chilled on the dance floor, not too much of energy, not a zazu kind of feeling, if you get. And I'm still playing within, a mid-tempo range. And I can choose to play a very, very fast song, and I'm just expecting you guys to just still go from side to side. So it's two things that's happening there. So there's the song choice, and then there's the speed at which you want the people to respond to the song.
So you happen to be an OAP, which is an on-air personality, and then you happen to be a DJ. So how do you tend to, manage this other aspect of your life aside from the DJing?
So I think these things are interwoven. From my research, there used to be a point in time, from way back, of course, not in Nigeria, but like when they started playing music on radio, I can't remember what year it is, forgive my history, but, from my research, I knew the first set of DJs were actually OAPs. Then they used to call them, I think, duty continuity announcers.
Interesting.
Yeah, they used to call them duty continuity announcers, DCA. So then what they do is they bring announcements on radio, and then from there they play music. So they were actually seen as the first set of DJs.
Okay.
Before we now had people that understood the concept of playing with vinyl. You know that old record stuff that you drop a needle on it and it starts rolling and audio comes out?
Yeah,
a phonodisc player.
Okay.
So, then came some set of people that understood, okay, you can actually play around with this thing, move it back and forth, push the fader a little faster so the song tempo can go up, and then we now had DJs. Then they were not even called DJs, then they were called mix masters. So then I believe if I was at that time, you'd be calling me mix master Holoskey. Oh my god. Jeez.
Look at you dropping names.
No, he's actually trying to sample names that maybe I'm sure that the good music is coming up. So I would love to, you made mention of not in Nigeria the other time when I asked the last question. So if you were to play in any country, what country would that be? Aside from Nigeria.
It'd be Congo.
Why?
Oh my god, those guys, their sound is rich, their sound is different, their sound is phenomenal. When people are able to understand where they come from and they bring sounds from that place directly.
How about Amapiano? You mean?
Amapiano is Amapiano has now become our piano in Nigeria. Did you get? Amapiano has become our piano in Nigeria here. So I don't know, but I still feel like Amapiano itself, it's still built off of some elements. What I mean by elements, some instruments that are used in making these instrumentals, and some of these elements that we're talking about, they are still foreign. But I'm talking about a Congo sound where it's as creative as the sound of a container. You know, an empty container, one of all these.
I see you mixing it with the, what's it called? Those
drum pads,
yes,
and
pads.
stuff.
So how do you do that when DJing? Because the sound that comes with a song is different. Then we hear some like
here
where
and there.
this
So we're actually trying to add a live feel, and every day the craft keeps going higher. Once upon a time, you could only just play music. And then we got to a point in time, you could play music and you could scratch.
Yeah.
And then we got to a point in time, you could beat match. So you're playing this song and then you mix it with this other song and people are like, wow. So these two songs could actually be played side by side. And then we've gotten to the drum era where, people are trying to add those traditional sounds, the talking drum sound to it. And for me, I think I was, I won't say I was lucky. I was fortunate to be experienced in that line because I used to be a drummer. I used to be a drummer at some point in time. I used to be a keyboardist at some point in time. So I know my music.
Yeah.
I started from scratch, and then that gave me an edge. So you see a lot of DJs these days, they actually come and then they come with a live drummer. Those small conga drums, and they play. That's for those that don't know how to play it. But for those that can play, you actually just simulate that same thing from your turntable. Back to the first thing I said. Experience.
Indeed, experience. All right, let's talk about the ideal length of a playlist. How long should a playlist be?
The length of a playlist would actually be determined by what you want to use the playlist for. If it's a wedding, at least most weddings in this part of Africa, Nigeria to be precise, you look at about a 6 to 7 hour runtime for a wedding event in Nigeria.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah, 6 to 7 hours. For we that we do the job, that we're always, behind the scene. We get to experience the sound check, when the gen comes on for the first time, you test the speakers, test all the equipment, and then the guests arrive. In Nigeria here, if you put 2 p.m., expecting to see people like 3, if you're lucky, sometimes even 4. That's why you see that comedy skit where some white guys came to a Nigerian wedding and they showed up at 2 on the dot, and I'm like, come, do you guys know what country you're in? But back to what you were saying. So a runtime for a wedding, I just prep myself for about 8 to 10 hours. Like the kind of playlist I create, 8 to 10 hours. Say I'm doing a mixtape for someone, something you can play in your car and stuff. Most of these recordable CDs don't take more than 80 minutes. And you can't even put the full 80 minutes there because it won't carry it. So you're looking at about 70 to 75 minutes for a
there's
CD
Bluetooth
plate.
now for people to connect from their phones.
Yeah, there's Bluetooth. But then on the other hand, if I give you a long mixtape of 3 or 4 hours, what's the assurance?
On my phone, I'm not going to take it.
No, if it's good, you listen to it, you vibe to it. But what's the assurance that you're going to come in for your next gig when you have a 4 hours DJ playlist?
Exactly, that's why
I would never give you a mix.
I just told you I will not take it.
I'm just telling you, I will not give you a mixtape of 1 hour. The highest I might do is like 45 minutes.
You see, that's being wicked.
It's not being wicked.
How do you transition, from mixing songs in between your songs? How do you transition from mixing this song to
the next song? So this one, I think it's something they call a human rhythm. I try to understand it myself, but I just know it's something that you don't get it overnight. It comes with the job. So if I'm playing one song right now, I can tell you from the top of my head like 5 other songs that would fit in line with that song. So say you asked me to cover my eyes and I played Davido, Assurance. In my head, I'm thinking of Tenny, Case. I'm thinking of Simi, Duduke, and it just keeps flowing like that. It's something that from time to time you need to know your music. So for me, anytime I'm driving, maybe I'm just in the house playing video games and stuff, I just leave music playing in the background. If I hear anything I like, I check the name of the artist, the title of the song, I'm like, okay, cool. Good song.
Are there gigs that you've turned out maybe because it's not your kind of place to DJ?
Yeah, I've turned down some. But I think I've only turned down one, and it's had to do with the kind of crowd that was there. I'll censor this so if you can pick it. if you can pick it, you understand. But I'm talking about the LG people.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, the rainbow people. So I had already been booked for this gig, and the next thing I was being told, as a guy, you might have to dress like a female, and I'm like, bros, please send me your account details. Let me show you something. So that kind of event, I've had to turn it down, but hardly. I think over time I've figured out how to. I like challenges, so I wouldn't back down on the job because you told me it's a 1-year-old birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, there are over 1,000 playlists out there. All you have to do is settle down, do your research, create your folders, ask questions. You can even test this thing. I mean, there are kids around, you have relatives and stuff. Play one or two of these tracks around them, see what their reaction is like. I had my first 80-year-old birthday event that I did. By the way, shout out to my dad. The first 80-year-old birthday event I ever did. I was clueless.
On what kind of songs?
What song? I'm like, when these guys were rocking parties, I was probably not born. So where do you want me to start from? So I reached out to my dad and I'm like, see what I want to do, but I don't even know where to start from. My greatest surprise, the man listened to me and he just smiled. He's like, no, you want to do DJ? I said, he said, so do the research. And I said, see, I don't know where to start from. Now, what kind of songs were rocking in your time and stuff? So that night, around like 7, I was sitting there in front of my system, I was racking my head. And I just saw this tall, then I was still staying with my parents. And then I just saw this tall man, he just opened the door and he brought a chair and he sat down. He said, let's create your next playlist.
That could be your dad. I'm sure that's your dad.
That's my dad.
He's an investor.
That's my dad.
He's an investor. He invested in you.
He sat down and, he started telling me about true life story. He started telling me about some songs. And this time, Summayya Ade, this particular song. My dad even told me as far back as when he used his school fees
Chino Peters
to go and turn up for Summayya Ade.
So every music now resonates with you as you're listening, as you're playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when he was telling me about the experience, the song, the way it made them feel that time, all I had to do was listen to that song, put some cues, some checks here and there. And when I got into the hall, I actually got sprayed. I think maybe that was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was where I got my first hard currency. Like sorry, did I just say spray?
They were truly impressed, guys.
Okay, so quickly, as from your experience as a veteran DJ, I'm giving you that. That's an addition.
Veteran, please, don't allow my elders to call me for front job.
For a very long time. I mean, this is what you've been doing. At least I know you for that. So give us steps, for those that want to be in this industry. What are the steps they need to follow?
Okay.
From your experience.
Now I'm about to feel like a motivational speaker. I'm about to give you the aspire to perspire moment. So be ready. Take notes. Step 1. Oh well, but there are really no steps, but I could just advise. First things first is, as a DJ, know your music. You can't just walk up to another DJ and collect, say, 100 or 500 gig worth of songs, and you just feel like, because I have this set of songs, that makes me a DJ. Know the music, know what you're playing. Another step is, for someone who is upcoming, you also want to go out there and see what's happening. Even at this level, I still do it. There are sometimes I just feel like I've been hearing too much of myself. I want to hear something different. So I go to maybe a bar, a restaurant, and I just listen to another DJ play music. And I'm like, okay, I like this transition. I like where you brought it from and stuff like that. So I take some notes. Like, it's a process that you have to learn and unlearn and then relearn.
So is this something that you studied? Is this something that you just had passion for and you picked up?
I wish there was a school for it. Maybe I would have studied that. But instead...
But shouldn't there be a way that you can teach?
Okay, so right now in Nigerian curriculum, I know a few universities that they've added that to vocational studies. There's a university in Ekiti. They've added that to their curriculum. Like, it's part of it. There's a lecturer. It's for now it's under GST. That's this general studies that they do in universities under GST. But at least you're getting I don't know how is it units.
I mean people need to know to study and understand the timetable because this is a whole lot going on there.
So they have lecturers that take this now. There is in Ekiti, there is in Ibadan. And last I checked, of recent, there is in Kwara States. Sorry, I can't give these guys free publicity, but if you go to those states, you know what I mean.
Okay, I mean this has been a very interesting.
It was an amazing discussion. I appreciate you honestly. I will call your government name again. Afolabi Tosin Okpeoluwa, it's a great name. Fatima can stick with.
You know this thing that you actually mentioned.
The good music, please.
Just to drop this last one, this thing that you actually mentioned got me into trouble in university because I was actually popular with the name DJ Holoskey. I'm talking down to my lecturers. So I was inside an examination hall. I was writing an exam, and when I came to submit my paper, the man looked at the paper and he looked at me and he's like,
"You're writing for someone."
Oga, who are you writing the exam for? I'm like, and everybody in the hall just started laughing. They're like, "Sir, Holoskey is not his real name. He wasn't." I'm so sure his father has never thought of that. I don't know where
he got it from, but it fits you. Well, thank you so much for
having us
this morning. Thank you so much.
All right.
Well, that's the much we can take. Let's go on a break quickly, and when we come back, we'll dive into some entertainment stories. And Summayya is going to take us through that. Stay with us.